Should I say it? I'm just going to say it. Welcome to the Muniverse. You have no idea how long I've been waiting to say that. This podcast, what we're doing right here, the work that we're going to do is the culmination of over 10 years of working in the personal development and spiritual industry, helping people find the answers they're looking for, create the change, the lasting change that they want to have in their life, and really experience everything that they can on this short, brief, and magical time we have here on this earth. So before we get started into the podcast, I just wanted to take a moment, a big deep breath in, and a big exhale out. We made it. This is going to be the answer to what you've been looking for. If you are a spiritual entrepreneur, and what do I mean by that? If you are someone who is on a mission to help people change their lives through spiritual self-work, life coaching, personal development, holistic services, you are going to experience something amazing on this podcast, on my website, in my courses, through my coaching. This is going to make all the difference. You're going to be able to get to from where you are now to where you've always wanted to be faster than you ever thought possible because you have an experienced guide, a coach, and a friend in me. So without further ado, let's kick it off. Very first podcast episode 1. Here we go. Hit it. I truly believe that we are spiritual beings having a human experience here on this earth. What you learn here could change the direction of your entire life. This could be the beginning of a whole new career for you. My name is Muni, and I'm a spiritual entrepreneur. Now more than ever, the world needs spiritual leaders, teachers, and guides. Are you ready to become one of them? If you're ready, I'm ready. Hey everyone, it's Muni. I'm so glad you're here, and before we do anything else, have some questions for you. Here we go. Have you ever dreamed about starting a spiritually based business, but you don't know where to start? Are you a professional healer or a certified practitioner or a life coach, and you're struggling to get clients, but the idea of sales and marketing and self-promotion just grosses you out? Do you ever wish you could just snap your fingers and have a vibrant spiritual business with a list of clients eager to work with you, a guide that could help you get there, somebody to help you develop it and take it to the next level? If you answered yes to any of those questions, you are absolutely ready to open the door to a spiritual business in a more loving, authentic, and abundant way than you ever thought possible. So when I say welcome to the Muniverse, I truly mean it. I am so glad that you're here. If you've ever felt the call to serve on a higher level and become a spiritual teacher or entrepreneur or an author or a practitioner, I can help you find the success you've been searching for. So let's get started. Now, I know that there's a lot of people out there and a lot of programs, a lot of webinars, and a lot of online courses making a lot of claims about how they can help you launch your speaking career, publish a best-selling book, or launch a successful online course, but very rarely do they have the knowledge and experience that's required to give you that success. And also specifically in the spiritual industry and the personal development industry, marketing is a little bit of a different animal. So for the past 10 years, I've been fortunate enough to make a living doing what I love as a spiritual entrepreneur, and I've worked with visionaries like Tony Robbins, Louise Hay, Neale Donald Walsch, Doreen Virtue, and if I may be so bold, I'm going to be bold here. I have seen and done it all. I mean, that means there are literally things in my career that I couldn't believe that I had to do, but I did it. And then there are things in my career that I couldn't believe someone let me do, and I love doing it. So, and everything in between. So I'm going to give you just a short list of some of the things that I've done and that I've accomplished that I'm very proud of. I have built incredible brands that attract millions of followers. I've created multiple six-figure product launches for my clients. I've launched best-selling book campaigns. I've created massively successful online courses and webinars, powerful and compelling content, effective and efficient marketing. I have clients that are making 7- and 8-figure incomes, which blows my mind, but it's incredible and true. And I want you to know that I've taken the very best of everything that I've learned over the past decade, and I've distilled it into all of the insights, the advice, the teachings of what you'll find on my website, on these podcasts, on my mentoring calls, and upcoming online courses. And I think I just want to make this statement. I'm going to make another bold statement. My purpose is simple. I am here to support anyone who's on a mission to change people's lives, because ultimately that's what spiritual businesses do. That's what spiritual entrepreneurs do. Transformational authors, people that work in this space, is you really are on a mission to change people's lives. So if you're ready to embark on the spiritual and entrepreneurial adventure of a lifetime, I am ready to help illuminate the path to the business and the career that you've always dreamed of. How does that sound? So one of the truths of today is that the world needs spiritual teachers and guides, I think, more than ever. More and more people are awakening to the idea of a larger purpose to their lives, or the benefits of spiritual self-work or personal development, or getting a coach, or working with even healing practitioners. And I think what started a few decades ago as the New Age has all but reached a mainstream level of cultural relevance. I mean, if you take a look around at some of the more popular TV shows or the more celebrated TV shows or movies to confirm this, but shows are getting greenlit about the afterlife and alternate realities and channeling and psychics and supernatural events and the bridge between science and spirituality and collective consciousness and a whole lot more. And I'm fascinated by this, but I think lots of people are fascinated by it. And the more it becomes part of what we talk about on a daily basis, the more people's minds open up to it. And then what results is an amazing opportunity for a lot of people to explore their own hidden gifts and abilities that maybe they have never tapped into before. So we are all a part of this movement. I mean, no matter where you live on this earth, what you believe about our origins, how you choose to practice those beliefs, we're all connected in an intricate tapestry of energy and vibrations, and that makes up our reality. So the goal, I think, of this podcast and what I'm trying to do is to help you focus your energy, your time, your resources, and your resourcefulness in a way that's going to bring your vision, your intention, and your hope for the spiritual business you want to create into alignment from where you are now, essentially, into where you've always wanted it to be, your business, faster than you ever thought possible. And you're going to hear me say that over and over again because it's kind of an affirmation I want you to start to adopt. Affirmations are, as I think a lot of you know, one of the most powerful tools you can use to really create change on a very micro level. That turns into a very macro level after a period of time. And Louise Hay is famous for this, and she, I think, is the mother of affirmations as far as I'm concerned. Even something as simple as looking into a mirror every morning, looking yourself, square in the eyes and saying, "I love you," can be intensely powerful. It could be painful, it could be difficult, it could be easy, it could be, any number of things. As varied as we all are in our personalities, it could land every which way. But I think those types of things, that which we affirm, we make true. So I think the more you say that I'm going to get from where I am now to where I've always wanted to be faster than I ever thought possible, if we can keep that mindset as we're going through all of this, it's going to seem like no time at all. And things are going to come easier, and things are going to happen, and they're going to appear and manifest and roll out in front of you and unfold before your very eyes in a way that I feel like I've experienced as I've worked within the spiritual industry. And you're meeting people and you're connecting with people, and they like, one kind of healing and you like another kind of healing, but you can still like, healing in general together, and you're always going to find a commonality and a common ground. And a lot of the teachers that I've worked with and a lot of the speakers I've worked with, they describe it as connecting with or reconnecting with your soul family. We're all born into families, and families can be difficult, and there's some of them are great and some of them are not great, and there's a whole bunch in the middle. And you're born into those families, but later in life you get to choose your family, and you get to find people that believe the same things as you, that accept you as who you are, that recognize your gifts and talents, that bring out your gifts and talents, that make you feel like you belong and you found your space. And that's another thing that really interested me when I was thinking about launching the Muniverse and having this be, a business that would be out there and a resource for people who wanted to enter the spiritual space as a teacher or a healer, was that, who are we as a spiritual entrepreneur? Who are you? And what makes you a spiritual entrepreneur? And I think those were questions that I had to ask myself, and those are questions I still ask myself. Is this part of the mission of being a spiritual entrepreneur? Is this blog that I wrote transformational in some way? Is this this online course that I created going to change people's lives? Is something I say or do or some relationship that I make going to benefit me later on? And there's unique experience for all of those. I think I remember it kind of the idea of where this comes from. The idea of a spiritual entrepreneur actually started from, I was on a trip for work, and I think I was exhausted. I don't even know what time zone I was in, but I was watching TV in a hotel room, and it was the OWN channel, but it was when OWN was showing the kind of behind the scenes of some of Oprah's greatest moments or things that were happening on the show. And I mean, to say that you've never learned anything from Oprah probably couldn't be true unless you've never seen television before. There's so many valuable things that she's brought to light, and so many amazing things that she's highlighted and focused on and featured on her programs. But for whatever reason, this behind the scenes show was the one that really stuck with me. And so she was in Australia, she was in Melbourne, and they were showing kind of the behind the scenes of what happened to make that Australia trip happen. And so one of the parts of her trip to Australia, she was in Melbourne, and she was in the town square, and all these people were there, and it was kind of raining, and it was gross out, and then they're all been waiting for a really long time, and Oprah shows up, and she gets up on the stage and the podium, and she's I'm here, I'm Oprah. And then I think it cut to behind the scenes or the interviews that they do, and there was this idea that kind of came out of it, and Oprah was really disappointed and kind of upset that she didn't have more to give. And so she told her team, there's a clip I'll never forget. I think that she specifically is talking to her, Sherry Salata or somebody on her team. And she's saying, I don't ever want to be in front of people without something to teach them or something to give them or something to contribute. And I'm paraphrasing because I've kind of morphed the idea as I've continued to use it, as I've branched out further and further. But it's this idea that, every email that you write, every blog that you create, every, conversation you have, every webinar in the spiritual space really needs to have the kind of the running theme of healing, or the running theme of hope or guidance or education or enlightenment or empowerment. There's a value in that. So instead of me taking an hour to just kind of tell you about my products and why you should buy it and sell, it's much more gentle of an approach. It's much more of a, let me help you. Let me give you some sort of healing or some sort of guidance or advice, or take the heat off a little bit, or just create some space for you to breathe and be creative, or something to let you know you're not alone. And at the same time, be able to talk about the benefits of how we can work together. That's an incredible opportunity and a great way to create a connection with an audience, and not so much as like, buy this, buy now, buy whatever. I think that's what makes people uncomfortable when they think about, how will I ever become a spiritual entrepreneur? Because I don't know, if I can sell or self-promote. But when you're selling and self-promoting, and that's wrapped in this beautiful package of healing and guidance, or some sort of advice, or, something that's from the heart, I think that that fear of that sliminess of sales goes away. And, the second thing to talk about too is this idea that, will this make an impact? Like, will this affect people? Will this really make a difference? Will this create change? And I remember when I was working at Hay House, and it was one of the first online courses that I had ever done, like a big one, when I was working there. And I had this doubt. I had this weird doubt where I had this moment, and I was like, ooh, I don't know. Like, is this really real? Is this a thing? Like, are we taking advantage of people? And, I just felt so uncomfortable. It was really hard for me to kind of even just concentrate that day. And I remember thinking to myself, oh, I just wish I could have a sign that I knew I was on the right track and that this was all worth it. And so I'm sitting at my computer, and I'm not even kidding. I'm all stressed out. I'm getting myself back into state, so I'm getting flustered. And all of a sudden, the little ping from my email inbox it goes off, and there's an email. And it's a forward from somebody in the customer service department, and it's this letter that comes in. And the letter basically said, I'm going to paraphrase, is I'm a retired school teacher. I live in the Bronx. I have, mobility issues. I can't travel to go be with people, to celebrate spirituality and all these amazing things. And, thank God, thank the higher power for you and whoever's creating these online courses, because there's so much light in my life. My life would be so small without it. And I just started crying. I was like bawling, ugly man cry. Like, it was so ridiculous. But I think I was crying for a couple of different reasons. One, because I knew, like I knew it was like all of it was worth it, because if for all the other reasons, if no one else got anything out of it, this one woman who just had the most beautiful heart to reach out and send that message, said that this course had made her life a little bit easier, and that it had made her more joyful and felt more abundant. Like, that was worth it for me. I was like, okay, I've done good work. And then I think also I was crying a little bit because how often do you ever get to, throw your eyes up to the heavens and say, give me a sign, and then have one show up? And that, to me, I think is that moment for me that cemented it. And I know we've all had those moments. I think everybody who's been working or exploring the spiritual space has probably had those moments of synchronicity, or something that was a sign that pointed you in the direction of, yeah, you're doing the right thing. Like, keep going, keep doing it. And it's those signs that you end up looking for that are the encouragement that keep getting you to go forward and keep encouraging you, and you keep unfolding that process in front of you, and it's just magical to watch. And so I think once you hit that stride, whether you're in a community or you're really kind of saying it out loud and proud that you're a spiritual entrepreneur and that people know that that's what you're doing and that's what you're focusing on, I think all of those things are incredible ways to kind of connect with all of these pieces. And I really encourage you to keep seeking out resources and keep listening to this podcast and keep coming back so that we can keep sharing these stories and keep moving forward. And as far as the relationships that you have and the relationships that you make, first and foremost, when you go to a spiritual conference, you go to a spiritual event, you go to a spiritual bookstore, you feel oddly more confident to just walk up to random strangers and introduce yourself and, start asking questions and sharing your story and seeing where you connect and how you might be connected and all the synchronicities that could be there, because there's this sense of openness. And I think you'll find that as you continue to expand and let people know and talk about the fact that you're a spiritual entrepreneur and you have this mission and, how you are a spiritual entrepreneur, what you like meditation, you like yoga, you like energy healing, you like past life regressions, you like soul coaching, you like angels, you like The Secret, whatever these things are. I think that there's a universal thread of love and unconditional love, I think that goes through all of this, and it kind of just pours out of you when you're in these situations. So you would be engaging on this level and vibrating at this level, and people that are vibrating at the same level would be attracted to you, and all of a sudden you're starting to make these connections, and you have no idea if the woman that you met at the coffee shop that was holding a Louise Hay book or a Wayne Dyer book is, the vice president of some huge company that's looking for someone that is doing exactly what you're doing. Or you don't know that she could be connected to somebody that was going to give you the answer to the next step of where you're going to take your business. And you have no idea how many people, around you at this very moment could be holding some sort of knowledge or some sort of experience that would help you grow and learn as a human and as a teacher. So I think making sure that you hold the regard for your interactions to have a higher intention. I remember I was working with someone who was describing to me this way of being that, every person you encounter would know love, or would experience connection, or would experience peace, or experience calm. And there's moments of frustration. We're all human, and your food's late, or your coffee's cold, or you're frustrated, or you're stuck in traffic, or whatever it would be that could kind of be a trigger. But taking a moment to remember that we're all in this together. So yes, you're stuck in traffic, but so is everybody else. And, depending on what you've read, or how you like to play the game, 6 degrees of separation or 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, but we are all way more connected than we could ever possibly know. And in some cases, it's way more obvious. How many times have you ever had this happen where somebody you just meet, you'll connect with them on Facebook or on social media, and you realize when you do that, oh my gosh, we have all these mutual friends in common. How much more do you like that person? How much more do you believe that person? How much more do you find yourself, interested in spending time with that person because you have the same mutual friends? So your friends obviously all see something in this person, so it's also there for you too. I remember in college, towards senior year, I ended up meeting someone who's a very good friend of mine who I'd never really met before, but we had all the same friends, and it was like, all right, well, I guess we should be friends too. So it's that phenomenon that I love. And then, there's other circumstances where, and you're going to hear me talk about these people a lot as the podcast progresses and, all across my website, because they have been instrumental to me bringing forth the Muniverse, which is, I feel like, my soul's work and my life's purpose. The creative team, it's Alice Charlier and Patrick Charlier, and they are a design team that I work with. They are a digital agency in Los Angeles. It's digitalvitaminla.com. They are phenomenal, and they have been some of the most important and influential and just wonderful people I've met. I'm so grateful for the way life gives you these twists and turns and puts you in these situations. But I was called into a meeting in Calabasas, which is outside of Los Angeles, for a client. And we get to this meeting, and I don't know what's going to happen. And we're sitting there in this big conference room, and in walks Patrick and Alice. And I immediately noticed that Patrick is wearing, there's a necklace that you get when you donate to the Tony Robbins Foundation. It's this beautiful necklace. It's got red beading and a little good luck Chinese coin, I believe, on it. And I would recognize it anywhere after seeing it for so long. And I recognized the necklace, and I immediately, was like, oh my goodness, like, are you a fan of Tony Robbins? Have you been to the events? And then it turns out that, they knew people that I knew and liked a lot, and all of a sudden we're connected, and all of a sudden we have this alignment and that alignment, and the amount of time it took for me to feel like I had known them for a million years was less than 10 minutes. And from then on out, it was an incredible relationship. It's collaborative. It's supportive. They kick me in the butt when I need a butt kicking, and they pick me up when I need a little extra support. And they have just been they're from heaven. I mean, they're from heaven. There's just no other way to describe it. They are absolutely some of the most incredible people I've met, and I'm so grateful. And there's got to be people in your life that are the same way too. When are those moments happening? When is that happening that you kind of are out there talking about what you believe in and sharing what you are gifted at, or trying to make the world a better place, and you bump into people and you see them for who they truly are, and you immediately connect with them, and then that's it. It's like, of course, we're gonna work together. We're gonna be attached. We're gonna know each other for a really long time, if not forever. And so I think those are those moments, and those are what's important when it comes to you kind of embarking on this journey as a spiritual entrepreneur. Keep all of these things in your mind. It's a lot. I know I give you a lot of stuff. I talk really fast and I say a lot of stuff. So just let this stuff sink in, come back and listen to it again. I'm sure that I'll be touching on a lot more of these topics, but these are the things I think that are important as you're starting out, or as you're kind of reigniting the process of engaging with this, is just really create the space for this kind of teaching, for knowing that you are making a difference, for having these relationships that are really going to define and direct what happens, and the things and the opportunities that kind of arise and appear in front of you. And just know that everything is happening for a reason, and everything's happening exactly the way it's supposed to. And I think that's one of the hardest things to say, and one of the hardest things to hear sometimes, because of course there's terrible things that happen, and it's really hard to kind of make that alignment fall into place. But when it comes to your trajectory as a spiritual entrepreneur, let that be true. Let that ring true, that everything happens for a reason. The people you meet, the people you bump into, don't take it lightly. Don't brush people off. Don't ignore requests, or when people reach out to you. They're all these little cosmic breadcrumbs. And I love the idea of that, because the image of it is so magical. But cosmic breadcrumbs that are leading you toward the future and the destiny of what you're meant to have and be and achieve and do in this world. So consider everything that. And when you start to consider everything that, and you start to see that more and more, you'll attract more and more of it. Tony Robbins used this as an example of like, how many times have you, when you get a new car, you get a car that's a specific color, all of a sudden you start seeing that specific color. So I get a red car, and all of a sudden I start seeing red everywhere. I start seeing red cars. I start seeing, cars that look like mine. I start seeing cars that could be the same make and model. It starts to raise your awareness of it, and then your brain starts to kind of attach it, or attach onto it a little bit easier. So you start to see more and more of that in your life. So the more you start to believe it, the more you start to see it, I guess is what I'm trying to say in a very roundabout and long and drawn out way. So I also want to share a little bit with you about my personal story about becoming a spiritual entrepreneur, because it was not something that I planned, and it's a pretty interesting story, I think. So I want to share that with you before we end today. And so here it is. We'll take a break, and then I'll be right back with a little bit more about my story. This episode of the Spiritual Business School podcast is brought to you by the Muniverse. If you're a spiritual entrepreneur and you've been looking for a way to launch the spiritual business you've always wanted to have, come on over to themuniverse.com and find all the resources you'll need to start your business faster and easier than you ever thought possible. When you sign up for my newsletter, you're going to get access to my Spiritual Business Startup Guide. It's a downloadable and printable chart that covers 6 key areas that you need to focus on if you're going to make your spiritual business a big success. So come on over and see what we have going on, join our online community on Facebook, subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, and take an exciting new step on the journey to becoming the spiritual entrepreneur you are destined to be. So I wanted to share a little bit more about my story and how I became the spiritual entrepreneur that I am today. And it's important to note that I didn't go out seeking this career. I didn't go out seeking this as a mission or a purpose or anything even remotely related to it. I was working at a law firm. I couldn't have been less spiritual if you even tried. I was working at a no-fault accident insurance law firm that I denied claims left and right for people who needed healing, people who needed chiropractic, people who needed acupuncture, people who needed support, people who needed refunds. I just denied. That was my job. And if you've ever worked in a job like that, you know that it can really start to eat at you. So there I was at my fancy pants lawyer job, having the time of my life, and I graduated from college, and I went into work the next day, and the office manager said, well, okay, this is great. Congratulations on graduating. Let us know what law school you'll be applying to, and we can transfer your paperwork so you can continue working here, which was a complete shock to me because no one had mentioned anything about that before. I had no plans to go to law school, and I lost my job right there and then that very day. And one of the things I think, if you've had situations like that before, you've had these opportunities that have disappeared, or you've been fired, or you've been rejected, or someone has said no, or you haven't gotten what you wanted, that when you look at the entire length of your life, you realize that it was the universe or a higher power or whatever deity you believe in protecting you from a future that wouldn't support you. I can't imagine what my life would be like if I was still working in law. And that's not a dig on lawyers. I love lawyers. They're very important for business. They're fantastic people, a lot of them. Some of them maybe less so, but that's true for everywhere. But that wasn't the life for me. And I think it was very clear. And I'm so grateful that I got that rejection, because it really put me on a path that I could never have imagined would have led me here. But I'm so grateful that it did. So prior to all of this happening, I had met relatives that lived in San Diego who I'd never met before. And it was a very close cousin of my mom's, but for whatever reason, we had never gone out to California. And so when I met them, they had asked, my aunt had asked, she said, okay, well, what are you planning on doing after college? And I had no idea. I figured I would still be working at the law firm. And she said, well, if that doesn't work out and you want to change, you're more than welcome to come and stay with us in San Diego. I have a big empty house and all my kids are gone. And I remember thinking, what a ridiculous thing to offer. That was my mindset at the time. What a ridiculous thing to offer. Why would I move to some lady's house that I've never met before, who's sort of related to my mom, and live in their house in San Diego? Who would do that? That's so absurd. And I kind of just forgot about it. It just went away. So flash forward to me getting fired from my job in New York. And I'm thinking, okay, what do I do now? I haven't looked for an apartment. I won't be able to like move out of my RA dorm because I was an RA in college. I won't be able to move out of my dorm and find anything fast enough. I definitely won't be able to find a job. I have this journalism degree that I graduated with from New York University, but there's no jobs in newspapers and there's no jobs in magazines. What am I going to do? And it slowly dawned on me, hey, wait. Remember your aunt said, hey, if you don't have anywhere to go after college, come on out to San Diego. And so I picked up the phone and I called her. And it was literally, this was the conversation. Hey, remember me? Yeah, remember how you said that I could come and live in San Diego? Well, can I come live in San Diego? And, her answer, which is the type of person I learned that she was absolutely, come on out whenever. So that launched a very interesting period of my life where I was living half of my life in New York and half of my life in San Diego, trying to figure out like what I was going to do. And when I finally made the decision, I packed up all my stuff, literally all my stuff, into a car that I bought from my brother, who sold it to me for $1, which is incredible. And I proceeded to go on this journey. And it's so funny because it really was this once in a lifetime experience of me being in my 20s and the world being new and my freedom being new, and I had no edges or boundaries, and I had a wonderful safety net that my family and my parents had provided for me. So I recognize how privileged and amazing it was to have that. But still at the time, the open road. And what I was able to do is I could travel all the way across the United States and stop and visit family along the way, which means I could go from upstate New York, which is where I'm from, through to Ohio to see my cousin who was graduating from Oberlin, over to Chicago to see my other cousin who had just had her second kid and hang out with them for a little while. And then I could drive down to Pittsfield, Illinois and help my uncle build a dock on the lake that he had just purchased and stocked. And then I could go down to St. Louis and visit my other cousin. And then I could drive. Well, this is where it got tricky. Driving through Texas takes a lot longer than I think anyone ever realizes. So that was the one hotel that I stayed in. But it was a beautiful drive. And I stopped and saw family in Tucson. And then I made it all the way to San Diego. And the reason I'm telling you all this is like all the timing, everything that happened as I was going through this journey, the extra days that I planned, the things that went faster or took longer, or the detours. I even stopped in Roswell, New Mexico for a little while because I was so fascinated with the idea that, all this stuff would be there. And it was not what I was expecting, but I definitely made a conscious decision to go and stop there. So I did it anyway. All these things that I did, the timing, everything that happened led to this perfect moment where I got to San Diego, I parked the car, I went inside, I sat on the couch, and the TV was on, and there was an ad for a job fair in the San Diego Convention Center. So it was a sign, right? It had to be a sign. And so I said to myself, okay, I'm going to get showered, I'm going to get changed, I'm going to get dressed up, and I'm going to go. So I did that. I put on my New York City power suit. I put on my tie, I shaved, I had my little binder with my resumes all printed out, and I walked down to this job fair, and I get there, and it's jobs that didn't seem like they were right for me. It was working at Terminix. It was websites that I had never heard of before. It was sales jobs. It was this, it was that, and it was everything I looked at, I just kind of thought, I don't know, I'm not getting the right vibe. I don't think this is right. And as I was about to leave, I found a booth, and above the booth it said, the Anthony Robbins companies. And I remember clearly thinking to myself, this is hilarious. I'm going to go walk up and talk to these people, and then I'm going to call my friends in New York, and we're all going to chuckle about how I went and talked to the people at the Tony Robbins, the guy from the infomercial, the big tall guy, Banana Hands from that... what is that movie called? It's going to bother me now. I can't remember the name of that movie. Anyway, oh gosh, what is it? Shallow Hal. Thank you. Oh my gosh, that was going to kill me. So Shallow Hal. So Banana Hands from Shallow Hal. And I think I had an out-of-body experience. I'm not really sure what happened. I walked up to the first person I could see, which was this tall, beautiful, platinum blonde-haired woman. And I stuck my hand out and I said, hi, my name is Muni. I just graduated with a degree in journalism from New York University, and I'm looking for a job in writing. And her eyes, I will never forget this, her eyes got so big. And she handed me a business card and she said, do not talk to anybody else. If you don't hear from me by Monday, call me, follow up, like I want to talk to you. And so I didn't think it was that big a deal. I didn't know what that reaction was going to be, but I walked right out of there with that card and didn't really think about it again. Monday morning, I get a phone call. I'm in for an interview. Then I'm in for my second interview. And then one day I did 7 interviews in a row, 7 interviews where I just sat there and people were coming in asking me questions about my life and my belief system and who were my heroes and, what did I value? And it was this incredibly strange experience, but at the same time, I felt like I'd been preparing for it my entire life. The answers all came so easily that I really was shocking myself at a certain point. And then here it comes, I get this job offer. And so they offer me a position as a junior content coordinator for Tony Robbins, and I'm in. And it was incredible, and it seems like it was way easier than it should have been, and I'm so grateful that it all happened that way. And, life is so funny because just a week or so ago, I was out in Temecula, which is, if you don't know, in San Diego, it's the wine country that's about an hour north of San Diego. It's beautiful. And I was at a winery with a really good friend of mine who had happened to work with Tony Robbins. And, you have those moments where you kind of just see something and it sparks a memory. And I see this like beautiful platinum blonde haired statuesque woman, walking by and sitting down at a table right behind me. And it just it set off a little buzzer in my head. And I was like, I think I know who that is, but I'm not 100% sure. And I don't want to be that weird guy that just walks up and says, oh, hey, hey, are you this person? And I almost walked out of that restaurant. I really almost walked out of there. And something told me to stop and go say something. And I walked over there and I said, I was like, hi, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. And the minute she looked at me, she's, oh my gosh, Muni. And it was absolutely her. And I was able to tell her, and I got so emotional even telling her, I said, I need you to know, it's so incredible that I'm seeing you. I need you to know that how grateful I am that you took a chance on me. You absolutely were instrumental to launching my career, the career path, everything that I have today as a spiritual entrepreneur. I have to thank her for, because she saw me. I made eye contact with her. She gave me the card. She called me. She made this entire thing happen. She orchestrated this whole thing. And yes, I know it was me. And yes, I know it was a little bit of a higher power too, but she was the catalyst for sure. And I don't know. It's just incredible that I was able to bump into her and share my progress and reconnect with her and thank her. And I think I hugged her like a million times to the point where it might have been a little bit awkward, but still, I just needed her to know how grateful and happy and appreciative I was that she took a chance on me and really sparked the beginning of my entire career. So going back to the Tony Robbins gig, it started out innocently enough, and I was working on content and writing things and learning the ropes and meeting with new people and kind of figuring out where I fit into the department and where I fit in overall to the structure of the organization. And I attended my very first Unleash the Power Within event, which if you've never gone, oh my gosh, it's incredible. I walked on fire. I did all these things that I would never have thought that I was going to be able to do, but here I am doing it. And about, I would say, a month or two into the job, someone in the department left. Something happened and they just left. And I don't think I ever knew what the details were, but I do know that what happened next would change the entire direction of where I thought this career was going, which is my boss came into my office. They gave me a cardboard box, a huge cardboard box full of all these folders and papers and binders. And they said, so-and-so has just left their position. You'll be taking over this event in London in a month. Figure it out. And so I remember thinking, I don't even remember what I thought. I think my brain just went completely empty. And I was like, what am I going to do? And I had to dig in. It was sink or swim. There was no way I was going to be able to get any help. There was no way there was going to be anybody to walk me through it. I had to figure it out. So here I am using my wits, using my resourcefulness, not necessarily my resources, but my resourcefulness to be able to make this work. And I'm so fortunate that I was able to find a mentor that had worked on that event maybe 10 years prior, who was able to walk me through some pieces of it. But I was otherwise very much on my own. So I show up a month later in London. The event couldn't have gone better. And it just launched this incredible experience of live events and content on the fly and running around and supporting an 8-speaker event, multi-million-dollar event, and just having the time of my life doing it. And from there, I did a whole tour. So we ended up doing, the first one was in London, the next one was in San Francisco, and then there was one in Melbourne, and then there was another one in London, and it just kept getting bigger and bigger and better and better. But there was a period, I think, of my life where I didn't know what I wanted to do next, and I couldn't figure it out. And so you do that little kind of dance with yourself of like, ooh, do I really want this? Do I not? Is this what I wanted? Is it not? And I think I just had a moment of doubt. And so as that moment of doubt was happening, I will never forget, I was at this event and I'm backstage running around working on this website project we were working on, with Tony, which was incredible that I was able to work directly with him. And we've been working these incredible days and running around. And I was backstage and someone comes running up to me and I knew her barely knew her at the time. But I knew she was important. I knew she was in charge. And she came over to me and she said, I want you to put him on stage. And I had no idea what she was talking about. I literally had no clue. I was like, I don't know what that means. She's like, I'm going to have you put him on stage. And so before I knew it, and I'm exhausted, remember I hadn't slept in like 2 days or 3 days or probably 5 days if I'm being honest. They put a headset on so I can't hear anything. I have a radio in one ear. So I have audio coming in one ear, another line of audio coming into another ear. I've got a microphone that's on my headset that I have to push a button in order to speak. I have a phone and I have a little clipboard. And now I'm like 5'5" on a good day, right? Tony Robbins is 6'7". So there's not even a line of sight that you could normally or naturally create that would get you to be able to be even near his face to tell him anything. And she said, okay, here's what happens. You just listen to what everyone's telling you on that thing and you go and tell them. And I was like, I had no idea what that meant, but I said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I have my phone that, somebody's texting me and telling me, okay, we're this many minutes away. And then I have a radio yelling in my ear, okay, we're on this number song and there's this many people left in the room and giving me information there. And I'm trying to absorb all the information and in walks Tony Robbins, 6'7", with an entourage of people around him, all these people giving him things, handing him things, all these things. And there was a moment, I think, where I could have just cowered in the corner and really not been able to pull it off. To be honest, there was a part of me that was like, I don't know what you're going to do. But there was another part of me that was like, well, you have nothing left to lose. And I marched right up to this 6'7" man. I literally crawled up his body. I put my hand directly on his chest. I looked him straight in the face and I said, you have 2 minutes left before you have to go on stage. And I walked back to the corner. And then I listened to the radio again. They had 1 minute left, so I ran over. There was 1 minute left. And he looked at me and he's like, nodded and okay, 30 seconds, okay, 5 seconds, go. And he went. And so I'm sitting here and I'm like, okay, I just put Tony Robbins on stage and I had no idea what I was doing. And little did I know that the whole time, Nana, my mentor, Brenda Schinke, she's an amazing woman, was hiding in the corner watching me to see what I would do. And from there, at that very event, I was offered the position of main room manager for the Tony Robbins events. And what that really means is I logistically coordinated with 10 different teams of contractors, the venue, Tony's support team, everybody to make those events happen. It was the most incredible job I've ever had. It forced me to grow in ways I could never have imagined. It brought me closer and closer to, the truth of who I was as a human being. It gave me this sense of accomplishment and it gave me a sense of pride in the work that I was doing. And I met the very best people I've ever met in my life, my very good friends who to this day I'm still, connected to. They're my family. We've been through, things you couldn't even imagine and all the way back. And we've celebrated life together and it's an incredible experience. But at a certain point, those experiences, you have to keep growing. I think that's a core tenet of, Tony Robbins' teachings. If you're not growing, you're dying. And I believe that to be true. Life is about exploring and understanding and experiencing more of who you are and becoming truly more of who you really meant to be. So from the Tony Robbins job, I think I'd reached a point where the travel was too much. There was a life balance thing for me that wasn't really balancing out properly. And I said, okay, I gotta go. I gotta go off the road. I gotta find another job. I have to find something. And then from there, there was an incredible period of my life where I tried to not work in the spiritual industry. Again, I kept having that doubt. Maybe this isn't what I should be doing. Maybe I should go back to a traditional career. Maybe I should go work in consulting or whatever it would be. And so I found myself working in aerospace consulting, business development in aerospace, which is, if you think about it, maybe the complete total opposite of working at Tony Robbins. But I learned a lot. I learned that personal development skills, transformational skills, spiritual work isn't limited to working for Tony Robbins, isn't limited to working in the spiritual industry. It really is becoming part of the mainstream. It's becoming part of how we all view things, corporate trainings, leadership training, all these things that really need to tap into the larger part of who you are, your spirit, your soul, your higher purpose, whatever you want to call it, tapping into that and bringing forth some of the better qualities or the hidden qualities that are there just waiting to be discovered. So I think it really cemented for me that this is where I wanted to be and this is the industry I wanted to work in. And the very next thing that happened was completely unbelievable and out of the blue, but again connected to relationships and again guided this process. And I remember I'd had a conversation with a good friend of mine from Tony Robbins, and I'd said, look, I don't really know if I want to keep doing, this consulting thing. I think I want to go back and find a full-time job. And, I don't know how that's going to look or what that's going to look like. And then a week later, I get a phone call from the marketing director at Hay House Publishing. Hey, we have this project that we need done for a website. Would you be available or interested in writing this website? And so I set about, a 10-day torture experience, if I'm being honest, of trying to write this website. And I knew that I was a good writer. I knew that I knew how to do it, but I wanted it to be so good that I was torturing myself with this perfection paralysis. And that's something that we could spend a whole podcast episode talking about. That whole perfection paralysis thing was it was torturous. It was so bad. But anyway, I was able to find the creative space and the right channel and the right inspiration to write this website. And it was for a guy named Tim Ryan, and he's a huge advocate for kids being able to learn meditation in school. So it's something you could really get behind, because absolutely, like, meditation is one of those things that is so beneficial, and the sooner you start doing it, the more you'll be able to cope with life and all the things that happen, and the more spiritually in touch you'll be with yourself, and the more in touch you'll be with your emotions and how to just live life in a balanced way and be certain of yourself. And so I couldn't be more of a proponent for students learning about meditation as soon as possible. It's fantastic. So I wrote this website and I sent it not knowing if it was going to be good, bad, indifferent. I had no idea. And the response that I got back was, wow, ... wow. And I just remember, like, what a relief, but also, really? So again, I'm still playing with this idea, like, I don't know if I'm good enough. So then from there, I get this email that says, hey, would you ever consider working full-time? Are you interested in a full-time position? And from there, I jumped on that opportunity to work at Hay House, and I found myself in the role of online media manager, and my task was to help curate and build their online learning department. So all these authors and all these people that you know and love had these books and had these products, and everyone loved them, but there really wasn't a way for them to connect with the audience beyond that. And so what we set about doing is building online programs with the help of these teachers and launching them to these audiences to a degree of success that I couldn't believe. And some of my favorite ones there were courses with John Holland, there were courses with Denise Lin, there were courses with Doreen Virtue, and those Doreen Virtue courses were some of the best. Her audience is phenomenal. They're so amazing, so loving, and they just loved the work that we were doing. And we were able to launch the Certified Angel Card Reader program that I still to this day can't believe as large and, fantastic as it turned out to be. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised, because it really is a fantastic skill to be able to share with people, the safety and certainty of working with her cards and learning from her and Radley Valentine, who's incredible as well. They really did they raised the game of online learning in general. And they created a movement of people who really wanted to become spiritual entrepreneurs. They didn't know how they were going to squeeze it into their lives already. They didn't know how they were going to make it work, but they all made a leap of faith or a leap of spirit, and they were able to figure out how to make it happen and commit the time to learning these skills. And, now I'm looking at all of them and I'm saying, of course, like, there's so much room out there for all these people to go out and help people one soul at a time, one person at a time, make a big difference. So from Hay House, I was able to transition into a consulting position where I started working with energy healers and psychic mediums and life coaches and pretty much a huge group of people, some of which I'd met through Hay House, some of which I met through referrals, and started working, doing one-on-one consulting, doing product development, working as a contractor and a part-time consultant. And as I did more and more of that, I think my schedule just couldn't handle working for more than 2 or 3 people because there weren't enough hours in the day. And, my type of passion around this type of work would mean that I would do it for a can of tuna fish if I could survive on that, but I can't. So I need to make money, and I needed to be profitable, and I needed to work a certain amount of time to find life balance, because that was my goal. And so then was born this idea of the Muniverse. And the Muniverse really it started kind of as a joke. Not really a joke, but more of a pun. I had a client who kept referring to me as a Municorn because I could write and I could design and I could do all these things. And so that joke was kind of there. And then the Muniverse joke sort of started to happen. And it stuck. It's one of those things that just stuck. It was a really fun name, and everybody brought it up, and I said, look, that's going to be it. And so I created the Muniverse, and my goal in creating the Muniverse was, there are so many people who I met who I couldn't work with because I didn't have the time, or they didn't have the resources, and I couldn't give it away for free as much as I wanted to. And so it felt like there was something off about it. Like, everyone out there should have the opportunity to bring and share their message with the world. I think if, there's no difference. I think that's the one thing I think I've learned in working with all these people. Every single person that has made that big in the spiritual industry, in the self-help industry, as an author, as a speaker, as a writer, everyone who has made it big started exactly where you are now, which is you have a hope and a dream that you'd be able to do this, and you have a wish that you could share your message of healing with the world, but you maybe didn't know how to start, or you didn't know what to do, and you struggled with it, and you lost sleep over it, and you stressed out about it, and you got frustrated, and you lost money, and you did all sorts of stuff, and you're at this point, this breaking point, and you either have a breakthrough or a breakdown. And for people who've made it, they had a breakthrough, and some of that looked like, like when Wayne Dyer was knocking on doors, selling his books, or when Louise Hay put everything she had into publishing a book that went on to change the world. So there's a breakthrough moment for all these people, and they've all had it. And you can have one too. I think that there's a point where all the stuff that we have, and technology, and the knowledge that we have, and everything that's available in terms of resources can help you get there. Only you have the benefit of getting there faster than ever before. So that's my hope, and that's my wish when it comes to the Muniverse. I'm so excited to meet you. I'm so excited to connect with you. The people that I've worked with and connected with already have all been lovely, wonderful, incredible people, and I know that there's more of you out there. I'm sure of it. And I can't wait for you to become part of this community. I can't wait for you to meet each other and find out that, oh my gosh, I love crystal healing, and it turns out that there's someone in my town that also loves crystal healing, and we can hang out and talk about crystal healing, and then we can find more people that are into it, and more people, and create these wonderful pockets of energy where we can all share our experiences and share what we love doing, and share what works and share what doesn't work, and really grow together as a community. And then also at the same time, we can all start making money doing what we love. Or if it's not money that you're after, fulfillment or purpose or meaning or whatever it is that's going to make you feel attached to the outcome of becoming a spiritual entrepreneur, creating things that are going to go out there and change the world, becoming a beacon of light, that's going to share the light that's within you, all over the place. Just radiate out into the world. And I think that is the vision that I have for myself. I know just from what I'm hearing and getting in terms of feedback and what's resonating from you is that you feel the same way. That, you know, that there's a reason why that this song, This Little Light of Mine, is so popular, is like you do want to let it shine. It is part of your experience of being here on this earth. And I think it's important to know that you're not alone. You absolutely have everything you need to be able to do it. I can help fill in some of the spaces that you don't have, and we can all do it together, and we can all succeed together. So that's my wish, I think, for everyone that's listening. And I invite you to keep coming back and check out my website at themuniverse.com, and sign up for all the free resources, sign up for one of my coaching calls, check out the online courses, come see me at an event one day. Just reach out and just do some. Take one little action that's going to help you move in the direction of success here. And if that's going and downloading the free reference guide that I have on my website, or it's going and watching a couple YouTube videos, or it's reconnecting to a business plan maybe you had, you could dust that off, pull it out of the drawer, go look at your website again, check out social media and see what's out there. You know, just take one little action. I think that would be my encouragement as you're wrapping up right now. Take one little action that's going to help you move in the direction of where you want to go. And whatever that action is, just know that that's what you absolutely need to be doing. And that's the thing that's going to unlock the pathway to all of the other amazing things that you can do and experience as a spiritual entrepreneur. I have loved this time here together, this very first podcast episode. I hope you didn't mind that I shared the whole long and drawn out version of my story of how I became a spiritual entrepreneur. I hope it was valuable. I have so many more stories to share, so many more teachings, so much more advice, so much more insight that can help you get to where you want to be faster than you ever thought possible. And I'm so excited that you're here. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time. Farewell.
You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes or go to themuniverse.com. That's themuniverse.com, where you'll find even more resources, inspiration, guidance, and coaching to help you create the spiritual business of your dreams. Remember to follow the Muniverse on Facebook at facebook.com/muniverseu and on Instagram at themuniverse.